So when I was in Newport, Rhode Island, visiting my brother, we were at this local bookstore, and he found this book that was like something. It's something like The Art of Zen and Walking. And I've been on this spiritual journey for like, oh man, I don't know, 8, 9 years, and it's a little bit newer for my brother, I would say. But I love when he picks up a book like this, and we can have these beautiful conversations like this. And so he gets this book, and he's practicing it. The things that the book offers, going on walks and learning how to be more zen on your walks. And he shared a practice with me that actually drives chills down my spine every time I hear it and share it with somebody. I shared it with a friend at the farmer's market the other day, so I wanted to offer it to you. And it is this. Imagine you are on a walk. And on this walk, there are two trees. The tree you're next to is the tree of your birth. And the next tree is the tree of your death. And knowing that, how slowly would you walk between trees? And I love this idea. Like, how slowly would you take each step? How present would you be with each moment of your life and just noticing the wind and the trees and the birds? And how much would you appreciate all these difficult times in your life, all of the challenges, noticing them as beautiful lessons, as just a part of being a part of life, being human, not something that you need to escape and run from, because only escaping and running is just getting closer to that second tree towards the end of your life. Maybe you would really learn to be with those moments, to not shame yourself, to not try to escape just the fear. And I know it's easy to say when you're not in it, but that's the practice. The practice is to really love those moments. And even these small moments, like, like I'm in this group called the Wellspring, which I love, and it helps millennials regain their attention. Distracted millennials regain their attention. And I have an affiliate link. I'll drop it in the description if that's a membership you want to be a part of. We do these Dharma sprints, which are just like body doubling, and we do meditations, and we have these weekly calls. It's just a really beautiful group, and there's some courses to help you regain your attention. And we talk about tracking your phone, tracking your time, all that stuff. Anyway, the leader, Christian, you may know him. He's Attunement on Instagram, _attunement. And Christian was sharing the story of like how he would like grab all these bags from his car and like get into his office. But like getting into his office, he has to swipe the fob, and then he's like dropping shit and dropping his water, or like he drops his coffee or whatever. And it's like, who is making me rush and grab all my bags all at once to get in the door? Like, who is making me have this horrible experience? It's just me. When we do that with like grocery bags, like, let's get every single grocery bag so I only take one trip. And it's like, and then so we can just cook food, and we rush through cooking food so we can eat dinner. Or we eat dinner while we watch a TV show. And it's just like on and on, just like rushing through all pieces of life. You pour your coffee in the morning, and it's like, pour your coffee so you can fucking drink it in the caffeine so you can like be wired and like do your work. And I just wonder what it would be like to make your coffee and pour your coffee with love, and how you can meet yourself in that process of wanting to be anxiously rushing through this stuff. Every moment, every step closer to that second tree, to the end of life. And when you do this on a walk, and maybe you could take this podcast on a walk and do this, like, look at that next tree and just think about every step you take getting closer to that tree. And is this really how you want to live life? Every moment like this, just rushing and running, just running to the next thing. And we just have so many opportunities to slow down and appreciate life for what it is. Like, do I record this podcast just to get another podcast out? Or I choose to be, if you're watching on video, like I chose to come to this park because it's beautiful, and to be around all these beautiful, like, I don't know if they're willow trees or whatever, but these beautiful trees, and the film with this background that I chose, it's beautiful, and I that was intentional to, like, it's like 80 degrees here in San Diego. The wind is blowing really softly by my skin. I'm sitting in the shade. There's a little bit of sunlight coming in through the trees, and I can kind of hear the rush of the cars on the highway, the dinging of the trains that go by, and the tweeting of the birds. And it's just an opportunity to be here. Like, oh my God, these beautiful homes right here with their bushes and gates. And God, it's just so beautiful. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's a bluebird day. And am I just recording this podcast just to put my marketing out there? Or can I like even slow down my words? You notice how I'm talking even slower now. And just being with this moment, being here with you, the listener. even though, as of recording this, no one's listening to it right now. But knowing that you'll be listening and just being with you, giving you a chance to slow my speak down, to take a deep breath, and just be right here. And this is the thing. There's nowhere to be. There's just truly nowhere else to be than right here. And we think that life is on some other side of something else. More money, when I get all these likes and all of this stuff, when I grow my business to X amount. But I always love something Flynn Skidmore offered me, which is the energy required to build something is the energy required to maintain it. And if you finally get to all the money you dream of having, or business gets to a size that you love it, or you get the dream house, or whatever goals you have, even winning a tennis tournament, or PRing an ultra marathon or a marathon or whatever, if you build that process with anxiety and fear and hoping that one day the love and joy and experience of being present is in the reward of that thing, no, you'll have just built anxiety and hope that one day the thing will come. All of this right now is just here right now. And so this leads me to a really core point that I want to talk about, which is AI and having AI. Like if you're somebody who uses AI to write newsletters, write your content, script your content, help you with ideas, it's okay, but I just don't think it's the right thing to do. And there's no right or wrong. This is just my preference. Here's how I see it. This whole idea of these two trees is that, let's say AI could actually, because it doesn't work, right? You try to have AI write your stuff and you're like, it just isn't right. It might help with some ideation, getting the wheels going. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really help. But let's say it did. Let's say you could just hit a button on AI and in 1 second it would be like perfect script. In fact, here's 3 perfect scripts. All you got to do is film them. You can pump out 3 pieces of content every single day. Your social media is growing. People are buying your stuff. You can put out a newsletter every single day because it's also able to help just write that for you. Your newsletter's growing. People are loving it. All of this is happening. All your dreams are coming true. Well, then the question becomes then what? What do you do now? What do you do with all of this? And now you might say, well, then I actually get to do the work that I truly want to do. I get to facilitate more breathwork sessions. I get to be a therapist. I get to actually dance. I get to create my art. If you feel like your relationship to social media is just this fucking thing that I have to fucking do, and that's your relationship to it, frustration, right? The energy required to build something is the energy required to maintain it. So you're trying to build this life you see for yourself with all this frustration and fear and anxiety. So the opportunity for you is to either stop doing it, stop creating with all this fear and anxiety, and just say I'm not going to do social media. I'm just going to be the best fucking therapist in the world, and I'm going to learn how to get insane referrals. I'm going to build a referral system. Maybe I do, live therapy to a group, and I host events. Even that you still have to market, right? So the energy that you show up for the thing that you love so much, can you learn how to create that relationship with your social media and content? And I think when you do that, that is those steps in between the trees. If you have to create content, can you learn to create it with joy and love and excitement? That way you're creating a system in which when you do reach millions of followers and all this money, you will already be satisfied and happy because you learn how to build the thing with satisfaction and happiness, joy and love and all of that. And I don't use AI to do this because I think AI is it's not doing that for me. It's creating more frustration. What I think this gets to be is that if you quote unquote have to create content, if you have to do it, then you might as well learn how to do it, because this is actually the thing that you love. Creating art, let's say you're a painter and you just want to paint. Yeah, but also the way you paint, or let me put it this way. You don't just paint all day 24/7. You hang out with your friends. Well, it's probably likely that your friends are artists too. And it's probably likely that you love to talk about your artwork. What are you creating? Ooh, I'm creating this. I have this vision. I was out in the park the other day and I saw this tree and that made me think of my grandma. And then maybe I could represent my grandma in this piece of painting. You see that? That is a story. Why can't that just be content? And learning how to articulate that idea with your friend when you're out for coffee with your other artist friend, that's what content is. It's this expression of your emotions and your feelings and your stories and what happens to you in this life. That's what story living is, and that's what I want you to see this as. If you're a therapist, if you're a breathwork person, facilitator, then it's probably likely you have other friends who are in the wellness space or are other therapists or other breathwork facilitators. And then when you go get coffee, you get to be like, okay, I was at this breathwork, I was doing my breathwork certification. I learned this new thing, and oh my God, like here's what I think this is. And here's how I get to incorporate it in my practice. That thing that you're doing with your best friends and that you're lit up about and all excited about, that's content. That's all content has to be. But we get hung up in like the hooks and and yeah, that's actually part of it. Learning how to articulate yourself, learning how to tell beautiful stories. Imagine you could do that with your friends, and your friends were like, fuck, I love hearing you speak about your work. It lights me up, it gets me excited about my work. That's it. That's content. And the cool part about content is that we all know this shit fucking is basically disappears in like 24 to 72 hours. Unless you have a super viral reel, that can last like maybe 8 months. I've seen some of my viral reels get likes like 8 months later, maybe even longer. But most of the content doesn't go viral. Most of the content has a shelf life of 24 to 72 hours probably. So knowing that, and knowing your experience with content, that you experience content, and you mostly just forget stuff that doesn't resonate, like the stuff that doesn't resonate, you just forget about. You don't even remember that shit. But the stuff that really lands, and you remember it, and you love that creator, and you feel seen and heard, and you want to connect more deeply with that creator. That's that same experience you can have in the coffee shop with your friends. That's all content has to be. And then what happens is that you get to meet up with your friend like a few days later, and you're like, remember that concept we were talking about? It's like, okay, here's what I'm actually thinking about it. And then you say it a little bit better. And they're like, dude, that's it. And you're firing them up, and you're fired up. That's content. And that's the steps between the trees. That is life. Life isn't handing over your expression and creativity to AI. Please help me say what's on my soul and heart, and then AI does something for you. And you're like, no, that's not fucking it. And it just feels like it's diminishing your heart. It's like, no. Learning how to articulate what your soul wants to say is the steps between the trees. There's nowhere to be. There's no amount of likes, I promise you. There's no amount of virality, likes, and followers that will help you be finally one day satisfied. No, the game is figuring out how to say what you want to say. That is art. It's the same thing as painting. That's what content is. That's what your newsletter is. That's what writing is. And you're letting AI take that from you. Take your expression. That's why like it doesn't ever feel like it fucking works. Here's another metaphor that would land. So I love tennis. Let's say instead of going and practicing my serve, and instead of being in a grueling match that's really hard, and I'm frustrated some of the times, let's skip all that. We're just going to skip all of that. I'm just going to go to the trophy ceremony. And I'm going to be in that moment where I hoist the trophy above my head. I have the trophy. I won the tennis championship. But I skipped over the tennis, the practice, the hitting with my friends, the grueling match that got me there. Well, is it even worth it when I stand there with the trophy above my head? Like, what is there to actually celebrate? Nothing. There's nothing to celebrate. You can't even be proud of yourself for anything because you skipped the whole fucking thing. That's what being in the muck and writing your content and just fucking figuring out how to say what you want to say. Like, oh, I know I'm doing this face, but like, no, that's actually the fucking best part. It's sitting in front of your computer or on your journal. Oh my God, I fucking love journaling. Journaling where you just let yourself flow, and then all of a sudden you're in this flow state and you write the fucking coolest thing ever. That's been some of my best content where it needs no editing. But then there are some days where I write a newsletter, and then I fucking grab for the phone to distract myself, to take me out of that discomfort. And then I never really get to figuring out what I want to say. But I put the phone away and I just let myself type. And I type and I just let it flow through me. And oh my God, and then I'm like, fuck, I'm not really sure what I want to say. And I reword some of the paragraphs, remove some of the paragraphs here and there. And then I get it. I sit in that discomfort, and then I get it. And oh my God, it's so rewarding. But it's never rewarding when I go to AI and say, help me with this. And they're like, how about this? And they're like, nah. How about this? And you're like, nah. And you're like, fuck this. Doesn't even work. More frustration. Oh, learning how to sit in the muck. Learning how to love the muck. Fall in love with that process because it's unavoidable. Just like life. Just like bad things happen. We are going to experience suffering. But we create needless suffering by trying to offload our current suffering. That's a fucking bar. We create more unnecessary suffering by trying to offload our current suffering. The current suffering is just going to happen. But learning how to fall in love with it and sit in it and move through it and then express it, let the thing you're stuck with actually be the source of creation. Ah, chef's kiss. That's fucking beautiful. If you truly love your work, then this is the work. Learning how to articulate what's on your soul is the fun part of life. Learning how to tell your friend that genius idea you had, but you haven't told anyone yet, so it's still kind of a messy mess up in your brain, but then you kind of say something to them, and then all of a sudden it just comes out because you feel safe with your friend, and so you're just able to express yourself, and then your friend's like, holy shit, dude, like, that was sick. Yeah, that's it. That's life. You're in it now. There's nowhere to be. These are the steps between the trees. And I hope you learn to fall in love with them and stop offloading it to AI. Because if you truly love what you do, then you get to love every single step between the trees. I think I said what I had to say, boy. Disclaimer, AI did not help me write this.